All right, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the March 23rd, 2015 Stillwater City Council meeting. I'm going to call the meeting to order. And first on our agenda, we have Abby Sexton from Stillwater High School to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. Abby? Please rise.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. You may be seated. Abby, thank you for joining us tonight.
No problem.
And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself? You go to Stillwater High School? What grade are you in?
Yes, I do. I'm a senior.
You're a senior this year. What do you know what your plans for next year are?
I am going to the University of Arkansas.
University of Arkansas.
Yes, I am.
All right. Let's be nice. Let's be nice. Okay, I've got to ask.
Okay.
Why Arkansas?
Well, I have many reasons. I wanted to go out of state. I mean, I like Oklahoma, but, something different. It's only 3 hours away. And we have some really good family friends that live there, and they have a daughter my age, so I already have a roommate.
Okay.
And they do 90% in-state tuition for if you get a 26 on the ACT, at least. So that was really appealing, too.
I can understand how that would be appealing. So what are some of the activities that you're involved in?
I am in student council, youth and government. I'm also part of SMAC Week, which is something I'm here to talk about.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
How was the state youth and government a couple weeks ago?
It was awesome. I love it. I was a judge this year, so that was really fun.
Well, that's neat. My son was in the freshman youth and government.
Okay.
How'd he do?
Was he in ledge? Or was
Yes.
he? Okay, I don't do ledge. I'm just in
okay.
judicial.
You're on
That's all I
judge.
get
Okay.
to
Oh, we're going to assume he did okay then.
do. Yeah.
All right, well, you're here about SMAC Week. Tell us a
Yes.
little bit about SMAC Week.
Okay, well, SMAC Week stands for Stillwater Makes a Change, and we have it every year. This is the 6th year. It's sponsored by the high school. This year, our benefactor is the Humane Society, and our goal is $50,000. Last year, our goal was $30,000, and we made $48,000. So hopefully, we will do that again. Go way over.
Now, I know you've had all sorts of activities up to now. You've had the 5K run and
Yes.
all sorts of fun things.
We have.
What other activities are upcoming?
Well, the SMAC Week itself is March 30th through April 4th. Monday, we have a manjant, so a bunch of our guys participate in a man pageant. Yes, Braxton is in it. And then we have a talent show on Tuesday, and Wednesday is barbecue and bingo at the high school. Thursday is the carnival at Eskimo Joe's. Friday, we have a dance-a-thon at the high school. And then Saturday, we have a volleyball tournament.
Wonderful.
So, yeah.
And there's a dinner, is it this Saturday
Yes,
night?
I think there's a business dinner, yes. Yes.
Dinner this Saturday night. So this is a great opportunity for Stillwater businesses
Absolutely.
and the community to get involved in these other activities to help out SMAC.
Yeah, we allow businesses to sponsor us. There's different levels of that, so it's good advertisement for them, and yeah, that is very helpful to have them.
Wonderful. All right, counselors, do you have any questions for Abby?
You can sponsor a table for $30, right, for Saturday night?
I believe so, yes.
At Stillwater Country Club? Mm-hmm. Okay. All right, does everybody hear that?
That's great. Okay, well, is there anything else you'd like to share with us about SMAC Week, or?
So I think that's it.
All right, any big plans between now and the end of your senior year?
No, just graduation.
Just graduation.
Ready to
I
get there.
understand that. All right, thank you very much.
Thank
I'll be
you.
right down. Okay, our next on our agenda, I think, tell you what, this is pretty special. I'm not going to give anything away because we've got a video we're going to show, but I tell you what, if I could sum up what you're getting ready to learn about, it is something very special, and what it really boils down to is it shouldn't surprise us, but we need to recognize it and be thankful for it. So Blake, will you start the video for us?
The City of Stillwater employees have been previously recognized for their good Samaritan character, and this is another tale of such an example. Waste Management employees Brian Ledgerwood and Cedric Smith were working their normal route on January 13th when they spotted something peculiar.
We was on the 500 block of Manning Street, and me and my partner Brian Ledgerwood, we were driving on our route. We seen two bags on the side of the street, and we kind of just looked at each other, and I asked him, did he see it? And he was like, yeah. About that time, I had come to a complete stop.
These bags belonged to Aspen Coffee Fountain Square owner Jeremy Bale, who intended to deposit the shop's day's earnings, but realized after getting a call later in the morning from the bank that he misplaced $2,000 worth of earnings in front of his home next to the trash carts.
I must have opened my door to put stuff in the dumpster and shoved the bags out in the process and didn't know it. And they were found by the workers who noticed that they were still full and called the police and sat there and waited with them even, I guess, to make sure nobody else found them. And then I got the phone call a little later on. So, well, I don't know if there's anything to say, right? A thank you doesn't seem to do justice on something like that, but you know, I mean, it's just there's a tremendous amount of gratefulness that someone would find something like that and take it upon themselves to not only do the right thing in calling in, but then sit there and kind of safeguard it.
Tell you what, that is such a wonderful example of the character of these gentlemen, and a great example of, and it's very representative of not only the people of Stillwater, but all the people that work for the city and represent and work for our community. And so I definitely want to thank Cedric and Brian for not only that act, but what you do each and every day to make our community better. Thank you very much. Counselors, do you have anything?
That just makes me proud. Thank you. Thank you.
All very proud of that. Thank you very much. Say, Ian, do you have anything, or?
Just to.
I'm going to make you stand up, Ian.
Just to kind of echo what you said, I'm very proud of these two employees. Couldn't be prouder of them. It takes a very great character to do something like they did. So it just. And I kind of feel that way about all my employees. So, and I feel that way about all the City of Stillwater employees as well. But I'm very proud of both of them for what they did, and I give me great pride that they work for me.
Thank you very much.
You guys come forward.
Pretty special event. All right. We now have a presentation from the League of Women Voters in connection with Sunshine Week.
Hello, my name is Pat Janes, and this is Jan Largett, and we are members of the Stillwater League of Women Voters. And we've been co-chair of this Sunshine Week, and you say, what is Sunshine Week? Well, Sunshine Week is sponsored by FOI, Freedom of Information People. And this was begun by journalists about 30 years ago. And what it is a commemoration of James Madison, who wrote that consent of the government requires that every citizen in our participatory democracy has a right to access government meetings and open meeting records. The League knows that all elected officials take training to learn the many rules of the open meetings and records laws of Oklahoma. We are happy that each of the elected councilors have signed an additional pledge to abide by the letter and spirit of the state's open government laws. Thank you, gentlemen and women. And the 2 candidates for mayor have signed again. We commend you. The city has 12 boards and committees to help the city run smoothly, and they have citizens on them. And we have sent a letter to each of those committees reminding them of their responsibility to maintain open meetings and records. And the last item I present tonight is directed to the citizens of Stillwater. Do you know that the city's website has a form titled Request for Open Record, Inspection, and Reproduction? Anyone can try this out if you want to know what happened to one of the boards or committees or to find out about any government entity. After all citizens have the right to know and to keep the sunshine on our government. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No.
That'll take us to our consent. We'll look the. Thank you, Mayor. Thank you. We'll let it clear.
They're popular.
They have more fans than we do.
Yeah.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. You guys look like you're just a packed house and don't want to be by me or something.
And the rest of the room, if you feel like spreading out, please feel free to do so. That's going to take us to the consent docket, and we have items A through G on the consent docket. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the consent docket?
No, thank you.
Motion to approve consent docket.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the consent docket. And that is approved 5-0. We do not have any requests to speak this evening, so it's going to take us down to general orders. And the first item under general orders is consider designating Stillwater as a Purple Heart City. Mr. McClenny.
John McClenny, External Services. Mayor and staff were recently approached by a local representative of the Military Order of the Purple Heart, and they would like to make a presentation and request to council to designate Stillwater as a Purple Heart City. So I'm going to introduce Gary Lewis, who is their representative, and he'll come up here and tell you all about the program.
Mayor and City Councilman, glad you had me in this evening to talk to you all about Purple Heart City. I'm pretty sure all of you know what the Purple Heart is about, so if you really wanted to detail on it, then we could stand here all night. I've got stories, but first of all, I'd like to ask if anybody in the room are a veteran. Is there a veteran in the room? Veteran in the room? If I missed anybody, then thank you for your service. Currently, the Purple Heart cities that we have in the United States, there's 926 Purple Heart cities in the United States. And the reason we have a Purple Heart City is it's symbolic, and it's an honor system, and it shows that there's appreciation and support for these Purple Heart veterans. We're not only just a bunch of guys that have a meeting and tell war stories. We do work with the public. We have currently a PTSD program, and I'm sure you know what that's about. And we're working with several organizations outside of us that are veteran-oriented. Most of you can relate to Wounded Warrior Project. We have several organizations in the state right now Healing the Heroes, and also the FEW, Foundation for Exceptional Warriors. And what we do, most of this is focused on these young Afghan and Iraqi. I'm a Vietnam veteran, so I'm sure you all know what they go through. You've seen the tragedy. And we take these young guys, put them out on fishing trips, hunting trips. We had guys that wants to go to Florida and whatever they call these things, these kites, just to do that. Skydivers, I don't know why they'd want to do that, you know. But anyway, we would like to ask you all if you'd like to be a Purple Heart City. It comes down to that. And we do have a chapter right here in Stillwater, matter of fact. We are Payne County. We are the smallest chapter in the state. But so far, we're beating them. We're beating them all to bits. But we would be honored if Stillwater would consider becoming a Purple Heart City. I think it would do you good. We like to work with city. We're currently working with Perry, Ponca City. I'm working with a little gal that's a counselor for PTSD up there out of Ponca Tribe. And she's going to do some talks for us on PTSD. Not only veterans, but civilians too have PTSD. That's our main drive right now, but we do help veterans in need if they need it. Give them money. We recently did that to a young man in Drumright, young family, come back, and he had severe PTSD. We could see it. No job, wife didn't work, no way to pay the bills. So we're the type of people who will raise money at a fundraiser, and we give that money back to a veteran, whether it's him, one of the members, or any veteran, or any organization. By our bylaws, we cannot keep the money we make. We do not pay ourselves. We do not own buildings, vehicles, pay utilities. So we have nothing left but to give it back, and that's what we do, and it can be proven too. So if anybody has any questions, I'm available. I can answer them. If I can't, I will find somebody that can.
Yeah.
I just want to say thank you for your service and for what you do for
You're welcome.
young veterans. Thank you very much.
Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Just going to add that process-wise, as I understand it, this would be done via a proclamation at a future council meeting and then installing of signage at the entrances to the city, which will cost somewhere in the neighborhood of a couple $1,000s. I don't expect it to be more than that. So if the council would like to proceed, we can do so.
Okay. Do you need a vote on this, or is it just kind of general consensus?
I'm good either way.
I'm good.
Sounds like a good idea.
I'll make a motion if you want me to become a Purple Heart City.
Second.
Motion to, what was the
Become
motion?
a Purple Heart City.
Okay. Is there a
Second.
We have a second. And I remember that when I met with them, there weren't many requirements in what they were wanting. Is this something that the city can accomplish, the requirements that were in there?
Yes.
Okay. Any further discussion on this item? All right, well, we have a motion and a second for Stillwater to become a Purple Heart City. And that is approved 5-0. Thank you. All right, next on our agenda is the Quality of Life Committee resolution recommendation. Mr. McClellan.
Just stay. As you're aware, in April of last year, the mayor appointed several subcommittees to council. One of those was the Community Enhancement Committee, and it was Councilors Darlington and Nahara. And I was the staff designee to work with them, and we began working on quality of life issues as part of that committee's work. And from that developed a strategic vision entitled A Stillwater Quality Community. And the basic tenets of that were a healthy infrastructure, sound financial practices, sustainable use of land and resources, safe and healthy environment, strong neighborhoods, vital downtown, economic development, professional relationships between council and staff, and citizen-driven change. And from that, a resolution was developed, and if you recall, we discussed that resolution at the study session that the council had on January 26th. And that's the basics and the history of everything, so I'll turn it over to the two counselors that were involved in this to discuss the details from there.
Thank you, John. Go ahead. There's nothing really extraordinary, blast-off rocket different about this resolution, but we felt that it was important to put it into words and to actually get a commitment. As we have talked at other meetings, quality of life is, we could define it 1,000 different ways. In this resolution, we're really talking about a commitment to respectful relationships and professional work among the counselors, between the counselors and the staff, and between counselors, staff, and most importantly, citizens. I hope that this is a first step, and that we concentrate on the quality of life attitude, and then from that we can build programs, things, places, nothing that, we don't even necessarily have to talk about money projects. An attitude adjustment is primarily where we're starting. Councilor Nahara, anything to add?
No, I think it's good that you said, for me, it's just something that it gives us something to look at. The city employees, obviously, which we heard this evening, they're striving at things that we think make a community. So we're not saying that there's anything wrong. We simply want to make sure that all of our staff and all of our people that are part of this city understand that what Stillwater wants to be and what we're about. And I think this just gives us something to look back on. If someone wonders what Stillwater is, this is a really good, just simple, basic understanding of what we want Stillwater to be. And I would hope, and I know pretty sure that a lot of people stand by these things we put on this paper, and I think it just helps us to be more cohesive in kind of how we think. And in the long run, I think it'll, like you said, give us something to look back at, but can make other things come from it.
Mm-hmm.
An actual vote will be under resolutions, but do any of the counselors have any other questions?
Thank you both for doing this.
And Mr. McClenny has been a big help too.
Thanks, John. It was a lot of fun.
Was a lot of fun. It's going to be a lot of fun.
Yes.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, we'll have the resolution here in just a few minutes. Next, we have an update on the pending oil and gas legislation and possible vote on rescheduling a public hearing. Mr. Dorman?
How do you want to proceed with this? I'll go ahead and give you an update, and then you tell me what you want to do. The three bills that we have been tracking have all passed their respective houses as of last week. The Senate Bill 809 and it's a companion bill, Senate Bill 468, passed and are now in a House committee and could be heard as early as this week. I think it's scheduled for Thursday, according to the Municipal League. That is the bill. Senate Bill 809 is what we call the pro tems bill. And as I sent you some copies of the amended legislation, but basically it's now the Speaker's bill with the 468 takings language added to it. And then there's a separate version of Senate Bill 468, which is just the takings language by itself that is running concurrent with that bill. But again, it's my understanding that it may be heard as early as Thursday this week. The House bill, I understand, 2178 has not been scheduled in the Senate yet. So best case scenario, we're probably looking at 3 weeks or so before there's a final resolution of these measures. Although it is possible that some of them can come out, and it's possible that you may have 2 or 3 different bills pass both houses addressing the same topic, which is unfortunately not unusual for the legislature. So it's still kind of up in the air right now. We've made some headway with some of the language in the bills, but obviously the reasonableness language is still there, and that's part of the problem that we've identified all along. And then, of course, the takings bill that kind of fell out of the sky about 2 weeks ago creates its own set of issues that need to be discussed. So that's kind of where we are right now. I'm not sure that that the legislature will be done by April 6th, I guess is the point here. So it's up to you. I was asked to give you a report, and I think maybe one or two members of the council had some concerns about making sure that we were through the process before starting or doing anything with our ordinance. So,
what is the takings bill that you're referring to?
There was a bill that was actually a shell bill that made its way to the Senate floor a couple of weeks ago, and it originally had language in it that said that if you passed a regulation that took 60% or more of the value of an oil and gas or mineral interest away, that would constitute a taking, and the city would be responsible for financial compensation to that property owner. It has been watered down a little bit. It now just uses the term substantial reduction in its value. And so if you substantially impact the value of that mineral interest, then the city could be subjected to monetary damages. And so, and of course, in that context, if it's a damage, if you're having to pay damages, then it comes out of the sinking fund and could result in a tax increase for the citizens until the judgment is paid off.
An ad valorem tax increase?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Questions for Mr. Dorman?
No, thank you. Without drawing this out too long, I'm just going to make a motion to move it to April 20th. And there can be discussion if you want it, but that's my motion, move it to April 20th. Short version, I don't see the need to rush it, and I don't see the need to take a big step forward when we can wait 2 weeks and it's not going to make a difference in my eyes.
I'll second your motion.
Does April 20th really accomplish the possibility of finding out if there's even any point in talking about an oil and gas regulation?
Well, that's 2 weeks basically, and this is the 6th would be 2 weeks from tonight. So you're basically adding a month, or you have a month for them to go through the process. And I mean, they move at their own speed, and they are watching what's happening here and in Norman. So it's possible that if we go too soon, then there may be some additional legislation. I can't predict what they're going to do down there. That's obvious from the way things have gone so far.
Where would be the appropriate time for comments? Right now?
Questions, comments?
I'm not surprised that this came up. I do want to say that there are several things that are driving me. I do know that oil and gas is important, perhaps the most important economic base for the state. And we in Stillwater, we have good oil and gas businesses, corporations, members who contribute not only to the economic base of Stillwater, but to the social fabric of our community. I understand that uniform regulations would be very helpful to the industry, regulations across the state. I also understand noise. I live, my house backs up to a commercial business, and about 3 o'clock in the morning, trash trucks were coming to pick up trash, not City of Stillwater trash trucks. And I have just been able to repair my ceiling. With the first time, you know, they zoom in, beep, 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 back up, back up, back up, back up, And then, you know how they bang those dumpsters? The first time that happened, I think I hit the ceiling. So I understand noise. That's about 500 feet from my house, and it happens 3 times a week. And that's just 3 times a week is annoying. And I get, Mr. McNichol knows how cranky I get when I've been woken up at 3 o'clock in the morning, because I know Norman McNichol, and I can call him, and he's very responsive to me. And we have an ordinance that says trash trucks can't come before 6 o'clock. So we regulate other businesses for the comfort and the safety and the health of our citizens. This is not an unusual thing. This is a zoning thing. This is what cities do for their people. You know, it's interesting with the national news last week about Obama's laws or regulations, whatever he said about fracking. You know, there's just been a little flurry of state people who say, what is the federal government doing telling the state what to do? We know our community best. Well, I think we know our community best. We know Stillwater best. I don't think of this as telling the legislature what to do. I think this is the only way that we've been able to communicate that this is what we want. I understand that some lobbyists have been hired and have talked to many of the counselors. They decided not to talk to me, but the attorney did talk to me. And you know, the average salary in Stillwater is about $44,000. That's, I don't see us, average citizens, hiring lobbyists. They elected us to communicate for them. And I think that's our responsibility, and I certainly take it very personally, my responsibility to communicate what I think is a reasonable ordinance, zoning ordinance for Stillwater. And I would prefer not to put this off.
I appreciate everything that you just said.
Thank you.
My one different take on it is I believe all of us take that responsibility seriously.
Mm-hmm.
And to take an action that I feel quite certain will result in the city being removed from any ability to protect its citizens in this area is not doing the best thing for the citizens. And a postponement of a public hearing by 2 weeks or a month to try and make sure that we still have the ability to make these type of zoning regulations on this topic, I think is far more important to keep us in the game, to give us a chance to stay in the game, than having a hearing in 2 weeks. Now, I was the third vote to say April 6th a couple weeks ago. And when I made that vote, I made the statement that if I get information that a hearing on April 6th will impair our chances to stay and have the ability to make normal, reasonable, normal, good zoning type regulations, then I would be in favor of postponing it to make sure we can stay in the game. And that's the information that I received. I have zero faith that the legislature is going to come back with proper zoning rules for us. That has nothing to do with this conversation. This has everything to do with trying to make sure we still have the ability to make our own rules. And I tell you what, the thickness of the irony of feds stay away, we know our community better is not lost on me. Trust me, I get it. So a two-week delay, I don't know if the legislature will be ready by that point or if they will have a bill passed by that point that will answer the question if we can even make this the proposed regulation that we'd like to do. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that at all. I don't know if we're going to be able to do that in 2 weeks or not. But I do believe that if we have that public hearing on April 6th, that it impairs our chances to still be a part of the game.
I can't speak for you, but I was visited by lobbyists, and they told me that if we do move forward, then they use the taking bill. And it's not a threat, but that's what they'll use. If we postpone, then we don't know what will happen.
Any other comments, discussion? What was the motion again? What was the date?
April 20th.
Is April 20th too soon?
Well, I said it when we took the previous action that I thought we were going to be right back here doing exactly what we're considering now. And, my conversation was more along the lines of the end of the session. The legislature's dealing with a lot of tough problems, and this is a tough one too, but it's not the only one. But, another 2 weeks is certainly better than trying to resolve it April 6th. So that's why I seconded the motion, and I'm happy to vote on it. And if we're back here in another 3 weeks, 2 weeks, so be it. We may know more at that point.
That's true. So the motion is to postpone that public hearing from April 6th to April 20th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Time. We have a motion and a second. Let's vote. That is approved with Darlington and Noble voting no. Should say that is approved 3-2 with Darlington and Noble voting no. That's going to take us down to resolutions, and the first resolution that we have is Resolution CC 2015-5, a resolution adopting a strategic vision for a quality community. This was the general order discussion we had earlier. Is there a motion on this resolution?
Motion to approve Resolution CC 2015-5.
Second.
Motion a second to approve Resolution CC 2015-5. That is approved 5-0. We have a resolution number CC 15-6. Mr. Galloway, do you want to explain this one to us?
It's the amendment to the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund indenture. We participate in the all of our employees in the Oklahoma Municipal Retirement Fund. It's a change to allow daily accounting and valuations as opposed to longer periods we currently have. It will not change the terms of our agreement, but will allow for daily evaluation and adjustments.
Any questions for Mr. Galloway on this resolution?
Move approval.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve CC 2015-6. And that is approved 5-0. Taking us down to ordinances on first reading, we have ordinance 3295. Mr. Dorman.
This is an ordinance relating to public health and safety, revising the 911 emergency number ordinance, Section 5, emergency telephone service and fee, thereby maintaining the current 5% user fee established and declaring an emergency.
And we'll deal with the emergency on second reading?
Yes, sir.
Okay, is there a motion to approve ordinance 3295 on first reading?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and second to approve ordinance 3295 on first reading. That's approved 5-0. take us down to reports from officers and boards. Mr. Dorman.
Nothing to report tonight, sir.
Mr. Galloway.
Just a moment. I wanted to thank the council for renewing my contract for the coming fiscal year 16, which will end on June 30th, 2016. It's my 11th contract here in Stillwater, by the way. Not 11 years. The first contract, I was hired in the middle of the year, so yeah, the first contract was 8 months. But just to let everyone know, in my discussions with the council, I have advised them my intention is to retire from the seat of Stillwater City Manager at the end of that contract period, next June 30th, 2016. Doesn't mean I'll retire completely. I'll want to find other ways to serve the community, but I've been doing city management around Oklahoma for 33 years, and maybe I'll try my hand at something a little different. So anyway, it's a lot of fun. I'm looking forward to the year. We got a lot of exciting things going on, and again, thank you very much.
Thanks, Dan.
All right. Any items from city councilors?
Nothing here.
I did send a note that I would like to have a legacy committee of past councilors and mayors, and I am happy to work with Patty and Liz to make that happen. I think that that is a little tiny piece of helping the continuity of our work on council, and not ignoring the great source of knowledge and history and caring that we have already in our community.
For me, tomorrow, I've got your radio spot tomorrow,
Yes,
Mr.
you do.
Weaver.
Thank you very much.
KSPI 8:15, KSPI 7:80 a.m. I will be doing that, and then on Wednesday on Triple Play at 7 o'clock. And I know you've got a year and several months, but thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, anything for upcoming meetings?
Did we get recommendations? Did everyone send those in for the ad hoc for the CDBG? I'm looking at you three.
I did.
That's fair.
If you would maybe look into that, I know we have, I could probably give you some names of people that have reached out if you guys don't have them, but
I've
I
got
really
my
wanna try
name,
to
and
get that
I'll
off.
email. Do I need to email Patty or you?
Just send it to me, and I'm working with the Development Services, and we're getting all the, if you don't have their email address, send me their phone number or their name. We'll get in touch with them and get the information, put them on the list, and get cracking.
Did we have anyone, as a result of your comments, come forward and say they were interested in serving?
I had one that I gave to him.
Can that one count as mine?
I think it's counted as his.
I think that's what he did.
I can find you one.
All right, we will have that the next couple of days.
Yeah, please.
Wonderful.
Just so we can, I know the plan was to maybe let them see kind of some of what was going to go on this year, since
Right.
it's pretty far in, and then next year, or towards the end of this year, get them in so we can have a good discussion and make sure we're getting fantastic input.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
Okay, anything else for upcoming meetings? Okay, we do have some board appointments. Let me pull up my notes. Okay, we have several for the Business Improvement District Number 1. I'm always going to ask you to make sure I do this correctly. If reappointments, can I do as a group?
Yes.
Okay, in the bid district, and just as a reminder, everyone, the bid district is separated functionally by blocks into zones, and there must be a representative, so there are geographic requirements for some, and then there are some at large. And so there were several that need that reappointment, and I would nominate Jill Hunt, Ben Douglas, and Robert Sitton for reappointment to their respective zones or areas. I can't remember which term they use.
I'd second your motion.
We have a motion and a second for those reappointments. That is approved 5-0. And we do have an empty seat for Area 3, and I would nominate Marcia Forbes for Area 3.
I'll second that one as well.
Okay. Motion second to appoint Marcia Forbes for Area 3. And that is approved 5-0. All right, and then for hospital trust, this was the first time under the new trust agreement, the changes in it. There's a nominating committee composed of equal members from City Council and the hospital board, and the nominating committee did meet last week and unanimously gave recommendations to me for appointments. There, under the new, with the amendments to the trust, there actually are 3 seats to be filled on the trust. There was a 4th for a doctor position, but that will be coming from the doctor community. So the 3 non-doctor position seats that are available, I would nominate Carrie Couch and Beth Buchanan for reappointment to the hospital board.
Second.
And that is approved 5-0. And for the 3rd non-doctor position, I would nominate Joe Haney for appointment.
Second.
And that is also approved 5-0. Okay, and there being no further business on the City Council agenda, is there a motion to adjourn City Council?
Make a motion to adjourn?
Second.
I voted.
And that is approved 5-0. City Council is adjourned. I will pull up my agenda.
Could we do CETA first?
Yeah, we're going to CETA first. We're going to have our Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting next, and so we're going to call Stillwater Economic Development Authority meeting for March 23rd, 2015 to order. And 2 items on the agenda, and the first is presentations. Mr. Galloway, I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, we just to let everybody know, as a quick reminder, early last winter, we published an RFP requesting proposals for companies, developers to submit proposals of interest in developing the vacant block between 8th and 9th and Duncan and Husband, and also possibly connecting it to the community center block for a mixed-use development, including hotel, retail, office, and open space, conference center. We had 3 applicants from around the country. We narrowed it down to 2. The one company is Block 34 Group. That is a local group, the principals being Corey Williams and Howard Offlegger. And the second group is HCW LLC out of Branson, Missouri. Mr. Richard Huffman is the principal of that company. Both companies have been invited to the council this evening. The format that was given to both of the developing companies is that they would be allowed 15 to 20 minutes to make a presentation to the city council or the trustees. The trustees will have a question and answer period. I believe the council intends to take a week or so to consider these, and we'll meet again next Monday to consider. We have invited a lot of business leaders to the community, from the community who are in the affected area or have other interests. We appreciate your visiting with us tonight to listen to these presentations, and hopefully you can learn some things and can weigh in on your opinions later as well. So with that, Mr. Chairman, would ask that you give Block 34 group an opportunity to come forward and share their presentation.
Wonderful. Yes, please do so.
Mr. Mayor, councilors, city manager, I appreciate the opportunity to be here this evening. My name is Corey Williams. And by way of introduction, I think I know everybody, but I'll throw that out there. I do this for a daily basis, and I haven't had a presentation in a long time that made me as nervous as this one, so bear with me for just a little bit. Again, my name is Corey Williams, and I'm partnered with Howard Offlegger. Howard's been in the community 50-plus years and been in real estate in some form or fashion, covering pretty much every aspect for 30-plus years. I was born and raised in Stillwater and have been here for the better part of 35 years now, and have been a small business owner and a real estate person for 10 years for small business, and real estate for about 7 now. Some of Howard's accomplishments, just to kind of give you a brief resume before we get into what we would like to do with the city's property down there. Howard's been responsible for developments like Fountain Square, which is 60,000 square foot of retail space out on Western. The Enclave Apartments, which is 76 units. Linden Park at 19th and Sanger. Copper Creek Business Park on 12th. Copperfield Addition, residential addition down in 19th and Sanger as well. And if I can utilize my PowerPoint, I'm going to try and figure out which one is me first. One of the questions that had been put on, that had been posed to us was whether or not we had been involved with public-private partnerships before. One of the projects that Howard has before him is working on an apartment complex in Tulsa called the Flats on Archer, and that is in conjunction with the Tulsa Development Authority and the redevelopment of the Brady District. And so I thought it might be helpful for you to get a vision of that, and it's coming out of the ground as we speak. You might be a little bit more familiar with my work because it's all within about 3 blocks of this building. My partners and I have put together redevelopment projects that include the old Stillwater Bay or Aggie's Big House, depending on how long you've been here. Turned it into what we initially thought was going to be a restaurant, but ended up becoming a new home to District Bicycles and 5 premium loft apartments upstairs. We did the redevelopment of the Katz building, which was certainly the definition of a public-private partnership. Mr. Dorman, Mr. Galloway spent a lot of time, along with Bob and others, making that project come to fruition. But it's now home to Brooklyn's Mercury Marine's Design and Engineering Division, as well as Gray's Goods and entertainment venue. We also repurposed and revitalized the Elite Repeat building, which I'm kind of proud of because I think I took one of the less attractive buildings, that's my PC term, less attractive buildings on downtown Main Street and made it what I hope everybody feels is gorgeous and a little bit of an homage to New Orleans. But we added 4 apartments above that with rooftop entertainment, and we're able to help expand the footprint of Elite Repeat. And if everybody here knows what they do and what they do for our community. So we consider that to be a win. Across the street, Pearl Junkies added 3 apartments where none were existing previously and repurposed that downstairs space. And then the Oddfellows Hall at 5th and Main, where we took a building that had been off the tax rolls for at least a decade, but I think longer than that, and now have a functioning commercial retail florist in there, as well as a large food service management company. All in all, $7 million of investment in downtown Stillwater over the course of about 6 years. And we've added 17 bedrooms to downtown Stillwater, and we have the businesses that occupy our space contribute about $450,000 in sales tax revenue annually to the city of Stillwater. To give you a little bit of history about our involvement in this project, and I don't know, Mr. Mayor, am I allowed to do a handout?
Yes.
Okay, great. Everything else is electronic, but these just did not show up very well. I feel like I need to ask if I can approach. I'm still in court. I'm not intentionally skipping you, except that I only have 5 copies.
I've got it.
Those handouts are not what our proposal looks like. That is just to give you an indication about how long we've been invested in this project. The very first page is the first architectural rendering that we did, and that was off of my napkin sketches back in July of 2013. So our initial conversations with Dan and city staff started way back then when Rob and Bob and a few others and I sat down and said, what does your vision look like versus what our vision looks like, so we can see if there's a match there, because certainly with the community-owned property, if what we want to do doesn't match, we should go on down the road and do something that does work. And so you can see that there's been a lot of different formations in there. There's 2 things that stay the same throughout the entire thing, and that's the commitment to community and the commitment to bedrooms. One of my main goals in getting involved in downtown property was the creation of bedrooms. I've lived in Stillwater a majority of my life. I've watched us and some great civic leaders put a lot of money into downtown Stillwater, and it does really well for a while. But then a new big box retailer opens up or a strip mall opens up somewhere, and it drives traffic elsewhere, and downtown languishes. The one thing that we've never really tried is a focus on bedrooms. And I can tell you the difference between when I opened my law office 10 years ago, coming down here at 9 o'clock at night, and coming down here at 9 o'clock at night now, and the parking, everyone knows, is substantial. Now, that's not all due to bedrooms. That's due to Louis and Zanotti's and Aspen and Summit and some real pioneers. But I'd like to think that the bedrooms have helped contribute to that a little bit by creating a sense of community. You'll see in the proposal that we turned in as a response to the RFP that we were very heavy on bedrooms and we were very heavy on retail. We'd like to build on the success that the bid district has already had, and we think that's been driven by retail and bedrooms. I think it was Howard and I went and sat down with Dan, gosh, that's probably July of last year, when we started really having the, hey, we really want to do this. And it was Howard that brought in the concept of adding a hotel. And it was Dan that added on the exhibit center and convention center. And so you've seen it expand from just redeveloping Block 34 original town Stillwater to going one further west. But given the history that we've had, been around for 2.5 years on this particular project, I am thrilled with the opportunity to present to you this evening. I think everybody has probably gotten an opportunity to see the video that we put together. I did want to run through it real quick,
Sure.
so that I can orient everyone a little bit, because there's not a compass on there, and I think it might help us explain a little bit. This particular view, and this is one of
make
those
that
times
big?
where I need one of those laser pointers that I make fun of my son for pointing in my eyes. But this area right here, I'll just use the mouse. Okay, thank you. This building is the existing community center, and that's pretty close to the scale and ratio in which it exists today. This would be 9th Street here, and this is 8th and 9th, and I'm sorry, this is Duck, 9th, 8th. Oh, thank you so much, I appreciate it. Okay. There we are. Yeah, it doesn't show up on the screen. I'm sorry. Anyway, so the main thoroughfare here is Duck. You have 9th bordering on the south, 8th here. And we'll go ahead and spin around. The RFP called for a 25 to 30,000 square foot free span exhibit hall with 25-foot ceilings. In order to accomplish that and accommodate it in the space allowed, this is the building and how it would look. Well, not how it would look necessarily, but this is the building, and it is to scale for a 30,000 square foot free span space. It sits where the existing Winfrey Houston Theater is, and Mr. Houston is here this evening. I know that, well, you saw in our original footprint, or our original proposal, we proposed removing the existing Winfrey Houston Theater and renaming it the Winfrey Houston Exhibit Hall if the city decides to move forward with a conference center exhibit hall situation. As we move a little bit further east on 8th Street, you pulled into the hotel area. In keeping with the trend in urban hotel design, the hotel actually starts on the 2nd floor where the lobby is and takes up the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th floors of this structure. The 1st floor has been reserved for retail and hospitality. It's a little wider footprint for the city of Stillwater to realize some tax revenues from, and it's another reason for people to come to downtown Stillwater. We are not asking for the closure of Duncan. Duncan will still operate, and as you can see here, goes underneath the hotel and into the parking garage and out the parking garage on the other side. We were trying to lessen the impact it was going to have on the community by removing the necessity to close Duncan. And I'd like to say that the front facades and some of this, it comes with the 3D clip art, so you'll have to bear with us. It's not necessarily the design we would like to have, the aesthetic design we would like to have overall for Stillwater. Our goal is to give it a timeless classic look that 30 years from now people will stand back and look and say, wow, they really did it right. That it blends well. It's an homage to the tradition of downtown as well as the university, and not just a stucco building. Okay, as we spin around here, you're seeing some of the community space. Block 34 has a lot of community purpose to it. We would like to continue that on. So in this green space, and at the end of the clip, it actually comes back to this, and we'll get a little bit further into it. But on the street side parking that we retained, you can't see them here because they don't exist. You're not crazy. But we would like to do concrete balusters along those parking spaces, and we'd like them to come with electric. And we'd like this to be Stillwater's quasi food truck court. We've had some real success on Friday nights with Trucks and Tunes due to Amy Joe's and Dan's efforts. We'd like to build on that, move it down a little bit, and get rid of the only complaint that I ever hear. You can't hear anything. We'd like them to be able to plug in instead of run generators. And so we'd like to do that there. We have an entertainment venue built into this. We'd like to utilize that at the same time as the food trucks. And believe it or not, there are food trucks in the 3D Clip Art Gallery. Okay, as it backs up, I'm going to pause it again. This is on the northeast corner of our residential area. This building right here, and you see it separated out as a cube, is, in our vision, dedicated office space. Managing the property that we manage downtown, I get a lot of calls for, do you have any office space? And as Mr. Houston knows, there's a demand for good office space. We have some not so good office space that sits vacant, but there is a demand for good office space. And what you see here on those first 4 floors reflects 12,000 square foot of office space. The top floor is reserved for another purpose, and we'll get to that towards the end of this video. I believe we were the only participant that turned in that had a committed, dedicated area for office. Yes, sir.
I just make sure we're standing in Bank First parking lot looking west. Is that correct?
That is correct.
Just keeping oriented.
Yeah, no, I appreciate you catching that. Yes, we would be right here standing in almost Bank First drive-through's front entry. This area here are the 45 apartment units that we would like to add to downtown Stillwater. These are primarily 1-bedroom units. There will be some 2-bedroom units. Just in having owned and managed downtown units right now, I can tell you that the type of person that wants to live in downtown typically only wants a one bedroom. A lot of times they're a little bit minimalist. They either live by themselves or they live with a companion, and they like to spend their time outdoors instead of having large footprints. So our 1-bedrooms actually move a lot quicker than our 2-bedrooms. That doesn't make them any less expensive, but we wanted you to know that I say that tenderly. And the good news is I can also tell you the demand exists. We have a wait list for all of our properties downtown. I can rent a 2-bedroom unit for $1,400 inside of 2 hours. And so I can tell you that there is pent-up demand. Steve Carpenter, Gary Gardner, and Ryan Smith are redoing the Knights of Columbus building. They put it on the market at $450 a bedroom without a single stick up in there, and had it full inside of a few hours.
Wow.
So I can tell you that people want that urban living concept, and we see no problem in moving these along. The first floor of this entire complex is all retail, individual retail. We have a pretty strong commitment from an anchor hospitality. We envision a restaurant being there on the corner, and but this is all individualized retail that's scalable. It can be expanded for larger needs or scaled down for individual storefronts. And now we are on 9th Street, so if you were standing either at Cosley's or the News Press, this would be your view. And again, you just have more first floor retail and 2nd through 4th floor residential. And as we get over here, the thing that everybody's a little bit curious about, as this garage looks in this video, you have 435 parking spaces. And sitting down with the architects and trying to capture everything that the city had put in their RFP, plus everything that we were adding to it, the need actually exists for 760 parking spaces. That can be accomplished 2 ways. You can either continue to go up, which we are not the biggest fans of, because I think you have an aesthetic problem at that point, or you can build over. And our proposal would be to put an additional parking over Bank First's existing surface parking area. And we've talked with Bank First. They have indicated that they're agreeable to that discussion and seeing what that would look like, and perhaps trying to move forward. And I think Mr. Galloway's even had some of those discussions as well. And I think long-term, putting a parking garage there benefits downtown anyway. One of the things that you have a problem with is getting pedestrian traffic beyond 9th Street. We think adding a parking garage over Bank First's existing surface lot would really help that. And the fun that comes with having a convention center and exhibit hall is truck access. So our truck access is here on the other side of the parking garage. You're getting ready to really experience the limitations of clip art, though. I'll warn you. Two things we'd also like to do. One thing that we're almost married to is a rooftop entertainment venue. And that's why I said on the office cube, you'll notice that we left that 5th floor empty. We anticipate it to be a bar lounge that exits out onto the residential rooftop. And if you've seen some of the concepts that they've been doing in Oklahoma City, either Packard's or on top of the Ambassador Hotel or a couple other venues, they've been really, really successful. Rawhide has a venue up top of it that's special events only. We believe it's time for Stillwater to have something along those lines as well. And so that 5th floor of the office complex actually is a rooftop lounge and bar. And the last thing, this gives you a little bit of a good scope of the scale of the project, and certainly the parking garage in relation to it. We would like to be able to enlarge the footprint of the green space and the community space. If there were probably one weakness we think that exists in this is we've tried to accommodate so much that is scaled down a little bit. If anything is removed, we're not looking to add another commercial development as much as we would like to add more to the green space so that it has higher and better function to it. Over there, you'll see there's a rooftop pool that is for the residential apartment dwellers as well as for the hotel. And I can I'll stop it right here. This section of the hotel, and I couldn't find this is the limitations in clip art. We'd like to put a drop-down movie screen. I don't know if any of you have been to Oklahoma City for some of their movie nights on the green or their H&8 or some of those experiences, but it's really great to draw the community out and show a video on the lawn. You have your food trucks that are running quietly around the outside, and just give a great backdrop also for hosting concerts and other outdoor entertainment options. I don't envision that we'll have a fountain that large, but I couldn't find a splash pad that I thought actually fit what it was we wanted to do. We anticipate there'll be a water feature, whether it's going to be a fountain coming out of a building or a splash pad to help accommodate some of that. And by splash pad, I mean what's at the edge of Bricktown in downtown Oklahoma City where the jets just come up, not the buckets and slides and things like that. I'm going to go ahead and stop it before it zooms in on the pool because it's probably just unnecessary. Does anybody have any questions about what we've done with relation to that? We engaged the services of Sykes Abernathy out of Tulsa, longtime architects to help us put this together, and more importantly, to put it together to scale. Because what I'm going to tell you next goes a little bit against the RFP. You'll see in our proposal that we put the numbers together and that we 100% complied with the RFP when it comes to the convention center and exhibit hall. What I'd like to visit with you about is to tell you that in our hearts, we don't believe that downtown Stillwater is the right place for the convention center and exhibit hall. We think the need has been identified for Stillwater to have something like that, and we're dedicated to assisting the city in doing something like that. But I don't believe it's the highest best use for that property, because when we started really visiting with the architects and the capacity issues that coming with having a 25 or 30,000 square foot exhibit hall and a 36,000 square foot convention center, there's a lot of infrastructure and background that goes along with that. Whether it is independent power generation, refuse collection, ingress and egress for all of the participants, it's a challenge. What also comes along that is a challenge with that is the hotel capacity that needs to accommodate a convention and visitor center of the magnitude that has been put forth in the RFP. Our proposal is for an 85-room hotel. That hotel exists whether or not the city decides to pursue the convention center exhibit hall or to abandon it and put it somewhere else. So I wanted to be very clear, we're dedicated to bringing a hotel to downtown Stillwater. It will be flying either the Hilton or the Marriott badge, and we worked with a management company out of Tulsa that has 32 properties regionally and has got 2, one of which is the Atlas Life building in downtown Tulsa, which was a huge public-private partnership. So they're very familiar with it. But in order to have a hotel that would fit the convention center exhibit hall that's been put forth in the RFP, that's 150 to 175 rooms. In visiting with all of the hotel operators that we did, nobody is comfortable with our market saying, yes, we can build that, without the city also guaranteeing about a 60% occupancy rate in that hotel. So I guess that would be a decision for the city council is, do you believe it and it's strong enough that the city is willing to write a check for that, and for how long? Our other problem is, assuming that it's successful, the convention center and exhibit hall is successful, we'll need more hotels. And we'll need them in close proximity to the site itself. So then you start looking at either making Duck or south of 9th. Most of the property to the north is church-owned, so it would be difficult to develop. You start getting into issues. Do you want 3 to 5 hotels in downtown Stillwater? Personally, that's not my vision. It's not Howard's vision. We're very committed to preserving the integrity and the community space of downtown Stillwater, and I believe that if you start adding 3 to 5 hotels, it becomes very quickly a commercial zone, and just a commercial zone, but not that real community at Stillwater's core. So we've identified space for it to go. We would love for it to go out in the Science and Technology Park, out on the west side of town. We already have existing hotels there. The infrastructure supports it. The ingress and egress is great. And I got a furrowed brow, Mr. Mayor. About the infrastructure?
No.
Okay. Was there? Okay.
Sorry to interrupt, I apologize.
And the good news is the timing couldn't be better because, and I think Chairman Waits is here, but he chairs the board of that Science and Technology Park, and they've been looking at ways to incentivize development out there. They hired an independent contractor, and one of the suggestions of the independent contractor was to partner with the city of Stillwater to develop a convention center and exhibit hall on that site to serve as a catalyst for further development out there. We wholeheartedly embrace that idea.
I have to say that that's an idea that's out there,
Right.
but it hasn't been approved by our Board of Regents. I don't mean Mr. Waite's board,
Right.
and it competes and conflicts with other actions the board has proposed. So I'm not so sure about that idea being discussed publicly.
And I certainly don't want to mislead and say that we've gotten an affirmative thumbs up from anybody in that. It's just been a concept that we've engaged discussions with to see if that's even a possibility, and we hope that it is. Our vision really, again, very heavy residential, 45 upscale apartment units, hotel, 85 units, 20,000 square foot of retail space, 9 to 12,000 square foot of office space. And for the community space, we envision it being utilized hopefully as a permanent base for the farmers market, so that there are less transient population and easier to find for everyone. The electrified balusters for the food trucks, a water feature, a movie screen. And really, the reason it's oriented the way it is, we had 1,001 different variations of the way we could build this, but you'll notice that the green space opens to the northeast corner of the property. That was highly intentional. We wanted to be a gateway to downtown, and we want downtown to be able to flow into it, and everything that happens in that community space to be able to flow out into downtown. There's not an adjoining property owner that we haven't discussed this with, be it Bank First for parking concerns, or Russ Tubner for his future development south of 9th Street, OSU for the development of the Art Museum on the north side. And we're, I know one of the concerns of this council has been the underutilization of the existing community center. And if we don't move forward with a convention center and exhibit hall, how do we utilize that asset that the city has owned and rehabilitated? I spoke with Ann Kane, Superintendent of Stillwater Public Schools, on Sunday, actually at the suggestion of the city manager, about their interest in moving the school administrative building from its current location, occupying an entire city block of downtown Stillwater, to this location. And I can tell you, and I think she has a representative in the room, but they are very, very interested and would love the opportunity. And they can't bond until 2017, but I think that there are some creative finance options that could be in place, employed in order to move that entire administrative arm downtown, which I can tell you, having white-collar jobs downtown, as you know, is a boon. We love having Mercury Marie down here, among others. But also frees up some land that the city owns and could pursue future development on. We would love to work with the city in utilizing it for that. If it stands, she would like to utilize the auditorium, the Winfrey Houston Theater, for events for them, as well as leave it as a community proponent. And I can tell you that I personally believe that's the highest best use, and the one that the city is not going to see any political pushback from. I think if this building that has been in the public domain for so long gets turned over for private development for either residential or retail, you will have an uprising the likes of Tower Park on your hands. Because there are a lot of people that love that building and the historical integrity of it, and we would love to see it remain as a community gem, not as an apartment dwelling or some kind of retail. And we think that the citizens of Stillwater, with the money that's been spent there by the public already, will embrace that kind of use. I've probably run over time already, so I'll stop. And I'd be glad to. Are we taking questions after both presentations?
Kind of up to council.
I've got some, but I can.
I think maybe after would be better.
After.
Sure.
After. We'll do after.
Yeah, that's great. Thank you for the opportunity to present.
Thank you.
We have Mr. Bob Allen and Mr. Richard Huffman here from HCW. Just pass me up. I've got it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Actually, as you guys set up, we're gonna take a 5-minute recess. We've been up here a while, so we're gonna take a 5-minute recess while you guys set up.
Well, that's what I'm saying. I think it's like a common use. Get too much trouble out of there. Trying to keep my crash from coming.
So it's up. I brought it up.
Yeah, just go like that. Right here. You can go from this. Because if you do, well, he'll run it from back there.
Oh, he's running.
Yeah, you're gonna do it, and it'll click back there for him. So when you do that, that'll come up.
right, if you guys start finding your seat, please.
Good mowing weather.
It's like the teacher just got onto the class.
Well, it happens sometimes. All right. Okay, we're going to return from our quick recess, and we'll hear the presentation from HCW. Thank you.
Great. Hi. Thank you for having us here tonight. I'm Rick Huffman, the CEO and partner in HCW LLC. We're a nationwide development company with offices in Branson, Missouri, Wichita, Kansas, and Phoenix, Arizona. And I work in Phoenix in the winter. So I just came in today. Glad to be here. We'd like to start off with showing you just a little bit about some of the questions that Mr. Galloway sent us, who we are. And we are, like I said, a nationwide building company. Most of our development is done west of the Mississippi. We only have one project east of the Mississippi, and that's in Evansville, Indiana, and that is a current project, similar with, it's a public-private partnership with the city of Evansville, Indiana, and we're doing a 240-room DoubleTree hotel, a conference center, and sky bridges that connect to a new university medical center, and quite a bit of stuff, parking garage, quite a bit of a very extensive project, about $80 million that is going on over there right now. And then everything else is west. We've done over well over $1 billion of development in our careers. Here's a list of the projects that are up there. They're in your handout. You can look at them at your leisure. This is about 30–40% of the projects that we've done. These are some of the more recent ones that are up there. The one that's kind of known the best, I guess, in this area, the Midwest, is the Branson Landing project. And we did a public-private partnership with the city of Branson, Missouri on that project, and that's a very large-scale project. We still own the entire project. That project was encompassed all of their lakefront for the city of Branson, and they wanted a conference center, and they wanted a convention center and a convention center hotel. So we ended up building about 560 rooms of Hilton product there, along with a 220,000 square foot convention center. And the project has been highly successful, and it won the best design by ICS, the International Center of Shopping, or Council of Shopping Centers. In 2007, it took first place in the world in design on that year. And that's a little trophy up there. And then that project, there's a little bit of, that's one of the Hilton hotels. That's the boutique hotel. And you can see on that project, we incorporated quite a bit of water, fountains, fire, all sorts of stuff into the project. That project was $400 million, in which about $180 million was public funds provided through the state, through TIF bonds, and then there was also some local bonds, and then there was about $220 million of our investment that we made into the project on there. And that's the convention center hotel up there on the left on that, and it's in your book. Then what got us interested in Stillwater when we received a copy of the RFP is we've done several projects in small communities, and we do a lot of projects with cities. And this particular project caught our interest because of Oklahoma State University being located in Stillwater and being kind of in the middle between Oklahoma City and Tulsa. And we had a similar situation in Kansas we had Kansas City and Wichita, in Manhattan, Kansas, which Kansas State University is there, sat in the middle. And they had a really tired downtown area that they wanted to become vibrant again and function again. They also wanted to bring in additional guests to the area through the conference center. And so what we did with the city up there is that was a combination of STAR bonds that were issued by the state of Kansas, and also some local TIF bonds that were supported by the sales tax revenues coming off of the hotel and conference center. And it was also supported by the tax from the hotel tax for the area. That project we built about 3 years ago now. It's gone through 2 full years open. It has provided over 400 conventions for the city of Manhattan. It has literally helped fill the adjoining hotels that are in the area around there, because this project is only 134 rooms, and we felt like that was the right size for the conference center. The conference center in that project is 30,000 gross feet. And when you talk sizes of conference centers, there's a big discrepancy on how people talk about it. We're in the business, we run conference centers. The conference center up there is 15,000 clear span feet, and then it has about another 15,000 of pre-function breakout area. And to that particular one, the column-free 15,000 feet, we can handle about 1,100 people for a sit-down dinner. And quite honestly, in that market, which is a town of 50,000 people, it's also supported by Fort Riley and Kansas State University. Very similar, different demographics. We only run about 4 conventions a year that hit that 1,100 mark. The majority of the conventions, quite honestly, run between 200 to 300 people, and that is a pretty standard size. One thing that it did do for the city, and that we saw that we think we would be good for Stillwater, we got on the list for the State Association business. Our sales team went out, we sold the state of Kansas. We now pick up the Missouri Department of Housing's convention every 3rd year. We share with Wichita and Kansas City, along with several other conferences that are held each year that rotate amongst the 3 centers. It's great, it brings people into town. People come into town for a conference, they spend a lot more money. They're not the same person that's going to the store every day. It's new dollars into the community. Those new dollars spent at restaurants, shopping, and what have you. And shopping's the #1 thing that people do when they go to conventions. So that project is highly successful, and their downtown has now been totally redone this last year, and it's an excellent project if you ever get the chance to go look at, because it was very, very similar to what you have. They had a downtown that was getting busy but was tired, and now it's all new concrete, new intersections, street trees, vibrant businesses. Rents have gone up, people are moving down there. So it's worked out really, really well. Then this is the project in Evansville, Indiana. And this one is, again, it connects to a university. It connects to the Indiana University School of Medicine that's being built right across the street from it. It has a 10,000 seat arena on the other side it connects to, and it has a 200,000 square foot convention center that it connects to on the other side. So it's a large project in downtown that the city's wanted for a long time, and it was made possible also by TIF bonds with the city. The partners that we use when we do our hotel projects, one of them is Butler Rosenberry Partners. We call them BRP. They're one of the more respected hotel architects in the Midwest. They've done well over 100 hotels. They used to do about 60 to 70% of John Q. Hammond's hotels when John was building his hotels prior to his death. And they have a lot of experience in conference center type hotels in select service, which is what we like. They've been around for 36 years, got good disciplines. David Hess is who we work with. He's been around 27 years. And they've done work, like I said, all over in China. Pillar Hotels and Resorts are our partners also. They manage our properties. Pillar is located out of Dallas, Texas. They manage about 220 properties right now. They're managing 3 of our properties right now, and we're moving them into the rest of our properties as contracts expire. They've done a great job, great sales job of bringing new business to our properties, and all of our properties are very successful. So we're very happy with Pillar. Stillwater. we're very vague on where our design is at this point, and that's on purpose, because when we do come in and do these public-private partnerships, the first thing we look at is, number one, does it make financial sense? If it does, how do we finance it? And is that done through, public dollars, private dollars? How is it done? What banks want to be involved, and what have you? We have a great relationship with many national banks and local banks around the country. We have worked in Oklahoma. We're very familiar with Oklahoma's TIF law and their STAR bond law. We were the developer chosen for the downtown riverfront project in Tulsa, Oklahoma in 2007, and then 2008 happened, and that project went away. And during that period of time, I worked with Kathy Taylor, who was mayor at the time of Tulsa, and had a great relationship with the business folks in Tulsa. And one of the problems that we saw for the project they wanted to do was the TIF legislation could not capture retail very much in retail dollars. So we worked with the legislature, actually a gentleman out of Oklahoma City, and we wrote our company wrote the TIF legislation and submitted it to the state with support of Governor Henry at that time. That passed, and now you can pull up to $200 million in retail sales in the state of Oklahoma to help cities out with their TIF districts and retail. So we're very familiar with the laws of the state of Oklahoma, and in our talks with Dan earlier, we said that we were very happy to assist, and we do it a lot, communities in lobbying for those dollars, because we feel like you're bringing new business to the state of Oklahoma when you do build a conference center. And so it meets the but-for test. It's not a Walmart. We're bringing in new dollars, not the same dollars being churned. So we want to help with that. What we've got is up on the board there, and it's in your book, is basically a layout that we know would work well, and it's got to be totally massaged based upon community input and everything. But we see the hotel being on the next to the bank, as you can see in the blue there, the conference center sliding down the side of that, and then the green space adjoining the conference center. And there's some thought behind that, and the reason we do that is we like to put our green space or activity areas next to the conference centers, and then do our pre-function glass walls in the area where we can bring them out onto the grass, as a lot of our customers will hold outdoor functions for them, evening events, cocktail parties, what have you, and we can take that area, and it gives us, and we can be having something go on the inside of it. One thing that we noticed in Kansas State is we had no idea the wedding business that we were going to do, and we're doing well over 50 weddings a year in the conference center, because it is obviously a very nice looking facility, and gives them a place to go. And we can have 3 or 4 weddings going on, and we use that grass space a lot on that particular project also, for the different events. But with the parking garage, we show actually in the same spot that the other gentleman did. And the parking garage, we don't know a size or anything about it yet. We did a 450 stall parking garage in Manhattan. It's kind of down there on the end. It's the stone-looking building next to the conference center. You can barely see it on the end there. And I will have to say that it is used about 6 or 7 times a year at capacity, and that's it. What we feel like that before we go into any community, we need to commission a market study based upon the size, the events, the number of residential and everything, and let some of the experts help us out and tell us, do we really need to spend those dollars today, or can we wait on those dollars later on and see what happens, as long as we got the expansion land available. So we study that a lot before we do go into these projects with the cities, trying to conserve your dollars. We looked on this particular thing, and you're going to see some red lines and some greenish yellow lines, I guess they are up there. The one thing that we noticed, being an outsider coming into Stillwater, Bob went to school here at the university, but so he's pretty familiar with Stillwater. I was not. we brought our team in and we looked, and one of the things that we noticed is the sense of arrival. And we feel like there needs to be a sense of arrival when you do come down the highway to be able to exit off to bring you into downtown. So we looked at it in phasing, and you'll see the red lines there. We felt like that were the necessary areas for a new project to redo the sidewalks, streetlights, lighting, street trees, what have you, with our landscape architects, and really beautify that area and spend some money on that, bringing the people off of the street at the main intersection at the highway. And then as funds permit and tax dollars continue to happen, then we looked at the yellow streets also being done, and we're missing, we've got it on a hard copy over there. We missed some yellow on the PowerPoint here, so I apologize for that. But those are areas that we don't want to come in and tell you we're an expert on right now anyway, because we need to come in and work with the community first. And when we do come in and do a project with the community, it's the very first thing we do. We meet with downtown betterment associations, or whatever you might have in that area, with chambers of commerce, with city staff, especially with public engineering, because, you know, unfortunately, a lot of times we get started on this project and we find out that we don't have sewer capacities or water pressure capacities to meet the needs for our fire suppression, to meet the 2012 IBC code. And the newest IBC code, which I don't know if you've adopted yet, you know, has changed all the rules again on air exchange and what have you in our hotels. So we have to look at all of that when we come in, and we would plan to do that, working with Mr. Galloway and his staff and the community, bringing the community in, and see if it works. Make sure that we're doing the right thing before we jump in. I can tell you the one thing that I totally agree with the gentleman before on the residential and all the other things in the retail. I think it's fantastic and should go in the area. And we have also highlighted some green areas around that, and we see those as future private enterprise opportunities for additional retail, street parking next to that retail, residential above it, to keep those areas vibrant. And I think you've got some great, probably local developers in the area that would do a fantastic job coming in and doing that. We would welcome in if they had ideas on part of this property to join in with us on the residential side of or retail sides. We focus, quite honestly, more into the public infrastructure, the streets, the beautification, the marketing, and the hotel and conference centers where we focus. Right now, we've talked with Marriott, Starwood, and Hilton. Marriott has turned down Stillwater to do a hotel for a conference center. Hilton will consider it with a Hilton Garden Inn if it's connected to a conference center. Without the conference center, they've told us they won't support it. There's a new Hampton Inn going on in town right now. There's also a Home2 that's been licensed in the city of Stillwater. It's not under construction yet. There's some other new product on the other side. When you bring the new product into it, it actually is going to pull your STAR report down. A STAR report is a report on how we measure hotel occupancies and RevPAR. And so that's why we think the conference center is really important, because we feel like that can help beef back up that customer, because they will stay in other hotels. These are not conferences that are designed for Chicago, Atlanta, downtown Kansas City, what have you. These conferences are going to be more mid-market conferences, and they like to stay in select service product, like a good Hampton Inn or a Courtyard or what have you. So it's the right type of customer for the market here that we feel. And again, those need to be verified with a little bit more detail. This is just an idea of, we put up of a collage of streetscapes and what have you that we're familiar with in other downtown areas and doing, beautifying that area. But when you come down that highway saying, wow, I want to turn and come down here, I want to go have dinner down here at the local restaurant, or I want to go buy something at a local retail store and stay at that hotel that's down there and enjoy it. The convention center, as I kind of probably repeat myself here, it's an economic driver, absolutely. Everywhere we go, it's the economic driver of the development. Generate customers in the community that would have never been here before. Obviously, it's bringing new customers in. Proven upscale central gathering space for local community events. One of the things we do in our parks, every one of them, we do little things like you don't think of it, but we bury 6-inch pipes, 3 of them, to every stage and all the way back, because when bands come in and things like that, they got to pull their wires underground, and most of the time, if people forget about it and they're tripping over the wires when they come in, you know, for events, and you got to have good public restrooms there. And so we build all that into it underground when we're doing one of these, because we know from operating them how to operate them the best and how to attract the customer that wants to use that. And if you don't have it, they kind of shy away if you want the good events. We want to expose you to outside markets. We want to help fill the other hotels. Why we think you're ready for it? You definitely have a lack of meeting space, good quality meeting space. That we have looked at. Clubs, events, banquets, gatherings, weddings, we see also a big draw for here. Your growing market, you've weathered the national recession better than most other states. The whole state of Oklahoma came through it in great shape compared to a lot of the other states. You know, it brings new business, and non-shows, I already said that, gives outside companies and event planners additional options to direct their groups. Makes you competitive. Makes the guys in Oklahoma City who are right now have an RFP out, they've contacted us to do a very large new venue in downtown Oklahoma City. We're not responding, but some friends that we know are. As more competition grows up, those are very expensive projects to build, very expensive. And they got to have a high room rate. If we can bring and put a room rate in the market for a convention of $120, you know, versus $220, then we can grab those mid-level market conventions we found, and we can put them in there. And we can do fine at $120 because we know when Oklahoma State has a home football game, we're going to get $200. Same thing we do at Kansas State University. You know, you grab the weekend business from the university, you grab the business in your hotels by the event planners throughout the week for normal business. The Branson Landing, just a little bit about it. It's not really a comparison at all, but it did create over 7,000 jobs. We've generated $1.1 billion in earnings, collected in excess of over $100 million now in tax revenue in 7 years. It's more than enough to pay back the bonds. Generated $3.3 billion in new spending revenues for the city of Branson, and the convention center, 80% of the attendees said they would have not have come to Branson had there not been that center there. Manhattan, a lot of the same things, population 50,000, you can read it, I'm being repetitive here. Stillwater, Garden Inn is what we're proposing to be the brand on that. We find it works well because it does have a restaurant and it does breakfast. That is necessary for the conventions. We do have to have that. Parking garage, that needs to be studied. Traffic, you know, attractive, unique landscape, we feel is a must as a part of the overall project. Ancillary things are the residential apartments. They will do great. We built some in Manhattan and they filled up immediately. And just like the gentleman said before, the one bedrooms we're going for a premium, and so we built one bedrooms and we only built about 8 2-bedrooms, I think, in that project. But that is another area of our business. We don't see doing that here. We can do it as part of the project, but we would rather have other developers in the area get involved with us and do the residential developments. We like that. We think it makes good partnerships and buy into the community. We have built about 7,000 apartments, and we currently own about 5,500 apartments located all over the Midwest. And in Phoenix, Arizona, we have 300 units under construction right now. Retail, we want to do that with the private collection. We'll do it also. We don't feel like the retail should be in the hotel. We're a little opposite than the last gentleman. We've done both, and we found that it works best to one business, the other business. And so we don't have problems with three-dimensional surveys and operation issues of people above and below and pipes breaking and noise and all sorts of things. So we like to keep them not integrated with each other, but I mean side by side, but not on top of each other, unless we're in a downtown environment where we have to. Professional office space and cooperative street plan, the other gentleman mentioned it. These projects draw office space. They draw office users. Not going to draw a big amount in Stillwater, but it's going to be a nice addition to that. And that way more people eat lunch, come back down for dinner, work late, go to the bars, do things like that. Generates revenue. Rehab the old existing community center. Talk to the school board. We are not sure at all about, we haven't had enough time to study that building. We've not been inside of it to look at it, but it darn sure needs to be looked at. And how do we utilize it, rehab it, save it? What part, what is it, what integral part does it make to the project? So those are things we need to look at. We wouldn't want to be the master developer, obviously. We want to work with you, as I said before, and all the different people. We feel it works best that way. We'll design the streetscapes and work with city staff on the input for maintenance, different things like that. You got to figure when you're doing one of these. We like to add a lot of sound. Every project, I'm kind of big on it. I like putting music in all the light poles and creating this environment when we do our new streetscapes. And we've done that on all the projects so far, and it really kind of gives a nice atmosphere as you go down the streets with the music. Then we want to facilitate community development, stimulate the community, revitalize private business, as I said before, and enlist the downtown CVB and all the other people involved in the project. Private investment we see is comprised of debt and equity that we construct and operate the hotel. That's us. We can bring the debt and equity, and it can be financed. We have never not financed a project in the 35 years history of our company. If we said we were going to do it, we've always financed them. And one thing we pride ourselves on is we are heavy in real estate. And during the downturn, we did not have one default, and we still own all of our properties on there. We got hurt, but we came through okay. We want to work. The big thing is on public funding because there is a lot of dollars that are invested in public funding, and we had told Mr. Galloway in our first meeting that that's kind of an area that we do shine, and he has an allocation he's been thinking about in his mind, and maybe between city staff and some good bond counsel, we can get some free money for the city from other sources. And then, like I said last, is bringing other private developers in. We do believe that it'll create a good highest and best return with the conference center. We think it provides a definite essential downtown attraction. The conference center is really important for downtowns, and I would have to disagree with the last time. It needs to be in your downtown. You have a lot of beautiful little restaurants going up down here, and you'll get a lot more. And people, when they come to convention centers, they don't want to go to Applebee's. They don't want to go to, those type of establishments. They want to eat at the local environment. They want to walk to them. Drinking and driving today is one of the biggest issues we face when we're booking conventions. They don't want to drink and drive. They do want to be able to walk to these functions and walk back to their hotel when the function's over, or have a very good cab service. I know in Manhattan, and well, all the cities actually, the local police force works with us fantastic. When we do have that really big event, instead of spending a bunch of money on parking, we actually close some streets and park cars on the streets, and we do a lot of valet. That way we're not having to spend, because parking garages right now are running about $14,500 per space. So it's not cheap, to be doing. Pending final design, overall components to develop, we'd anticipate a timeline that falls between 12 to 16 months. If we were selected, the first thing we do is start with studies, market studies first, and geotechnical reports and things like that, and start the meetings with staff and community first, and then work to a design fairly rapidly in that process. We usually can move pretty fast through the groups and then bring it back to you. And if it's financeable and it works, you know, let you guys make that decision. So we're happy to be here. We're glad that you invited us over tonight for the presentation, and we're happy to answer any questions you have from you. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. I guess trustees, we're here under CETA. So trustees, kind of what we had discussed was we wanted these presentations so we could hear the details. We can call both groups back up if you have some questions. Kind of our big picture is we wanted the information, we wanted the community to get the information, and so before we launch into questions, this is kind of my request to the folks here or those watching, that what we need from you all is input. We need comments, we need questions, we need to know what these presentations did for you, what they didn't do for you, what concerns you may have, what things you liked. That's what we need to be hearing, and we need to be hearing it in a rather timely manner. So with that, trustees, questions?
I've got some. Do you just want to start with HCW?
Sure.
Just went. How big of a hotel would you say?
130, 134 rooms in that area.
And you said you think it needs to be downtown?
Absolutely.
Would you have interest in the project if we moved it on West 6th?
We would not, no.
Did you talk with our destination marketing people about where they thought it would be best put?
We have not yet.
Okay. And you said finance would be bonds?
Well, the private side of the equation would be us, our finance. We would not ask for any financing from you for that. Obviously, the public side, whether it be conference centers, garages, streetscapes, then through sources that Mr. Galloway had talked about earlier, and we had in earlier meetings also about TIF and STAR and all the different ways of doing it, capturing sales tax.
Do you guys have a shuttle in Manhattan? I'm not really familiar with Manhattan, but with the location of what I've pulled up, I mean, it looks like it's right pretty much off the interstate. So do you guys have a shuttle that goes to like campus, or how does?
We do have a shuttle. Okay. We have two shuttles, actually.
Okay. Are you aware of Stillwater's public transportation system? And do you feel it would be
You know what?
sufficient?
The public transportation system goes by our place, but it's not used hardly at all, quite honestly. Yeah. We're not on the interstate. That project is 17 miles off Interstate I-70. And then as you come into Manhattan, it's a state road that comes in over a river and into a bridge into downtown. And most of the people, actually it's a drive-to type destination. The airport there does have a daily flight from Dallas and a daily flight to Chicago out of it on American.
Streetscapes. Can you give us a ballpark of, on other projects that you've done, how much that would cost?
Yeah, about a standard city block on there, kind of a rule of thumb is about $500,000 per city block is what we found we can do. Like I noticed today, there's a lot of broken curb, a lot of broken concrete, a lot of trip and fall hazards and stuff.
And you're talking about downtown or coming into town?
All the way from 6th, all the way down Main, branching off the spoke streets, depending upon budget, on how far we could go with other streets. But to make the arrival, the main thoroughfare, the main place where the businesses are right now, pretty. I mean, nice, vibrant.
were you proposing to go down Perkins too, since there's two ways in here, or just the?
No, we've got, and it's hard to tell until we study it. Like today, this afternoon, we were in here earlier and we were looking again, and we said, we really need to probably include that street in phase 1. And those are things I think we need to talk about with the community and the business owners. Because if you got one business over here who's got new street trees and really clean sidewalks and this and that, and this guy doesn't, you're going to be a little ticked off. So, that's where it's sensitive, and you got to work with the business owners.
Thank you.
Sure. Thanks for coming.
Thank you.
In the range of sizes of projects that you are working on now, 1 being the tiniest and 10 being the largest, where would Stillwater fall?
Kind of in the middle, maybe a little, it's a hard question.
I know, it's not
but
specific.
yeah, probably lower middle, I guess, in that area. Yeah.
4-ish.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, and it's not, when you go build 300 Class A apartments, that's $50 million, that's actually really easy to do. Now, these are not easy, because you got a lot of moving parts and tax dollars you're dealing with, and citizens and boards, and it's we've learned it's a lot of meetings,
That leads kind of into my next question. What's one of the biggest problems you've run into in other developments in other cities, and how have you solved it?
Biggest problem was unions. I don't have that here, which is a very nice thing. Adds about 35% to a project. I'd say number 1 biggest problem we've faced. And then probably the second problem is infrastructure. We run into a lot of infrastructure problems. When you go into old areas and you start increasing capacities, gallons per minute and things like that, you find out you got small pipes that people thought were big pipes. And so you got to really look at that.
I think I think it's pretty clear when we talk about Manhattan that we immediately recognize it as a university town, Big 12, not too, same size, 50,000. How would you say that Stillwater is different from Manhattan?
They've been very progressive. They started about 7 years ago. They made a decision to change the entire look of the town. And they really had a council that was really strong about it, carried unanimous votes all the way through. And they went to the legislature, and they got a lot of money in star bonds. They got quite a bit. So they were very aggressive. So they're there now. Now, one thing they have that you don't have is they have the home of the big red one, which is just down the road 17 miles. They have military. And we handle probably 7 or 8 military balls a year at our conference center. And we sell about $25,000 worth of alcohol at each night at one of those conferences of that. And that's a lot of good sales tax revenue, and a lot of heads and beds. It's been great for the other hotels. There's been 3 brand new hotels built around us. When I say around, I mean, within 10 blocks of it. But, and they also, even though it's under, not done, it's under construction, they have a $1.3 billion construction project going on up there. They won the award for the United States for InBev. It's where they study diseases and what have you, nuclear warfare, germ warfare, what have you. It's right now located in New York, and Congress actually funded that project. So it's now under construction, but it'll be like 7 years before it's open.
Wow. One more question. You mentioned public meetings, and I read that in your binder also. What's been your experience with public meetings? I mean, I'm thinking citizen public, or are you talking about chamber?
We do. Obviously, we try to work as much as we can behind the scenes with staff and the local citizens first. And then you got to bring it to the public and present it to the public. And our experience has been with the public, very positive. Except for maybe Branson in the beginning. There was a theater association that was out along the strip that was afraid by putting the convention center downtown that they would take people out of their seats of the theaters. And it turned out to be the opposite. 35% of the people that come to the convention that never would have come there go to the shows. So it's turned out just the opposite. But people have fear. You know, you always have fear when there's new things going on. And we understood it, and we answered a lot of questions. Had a lot of executive sessions till 1, 2 in the morning, getting through the process. But that was a big project, very big.
Yeah. Thank you.
What prompted your attention? What caused your company to respond to this RFP?
Manhattan, purely Manhattan. When we saw it was Stillwater, Oklahoma State University, 50,000 population, in the middle of 2 major cities, we said that kind of fits our model of what we did up there. That property is just extremely successful. I mean, most successful percentage-wise project we've ever done, actually. Branson's the biggest, but Manhattan's the percentage-wise is the most successful. And that got our attention, yeah, because it had a lot of the same demographics, you know, going on in it.
What I noticed in your proposal or in the handout, and then also as you discussed tonight, what I took from it was your company really would like to focus on the hotel and the convention center side, but outside partners for other elements that we'd be interested in. Is that a fair?
Very fair. We would love to invite them in if the community lacks that, then we do that. I mean, we build retail and we build lots and lots of apartments. But when we come into a smaller community, because we hire people from the community. The jobs, we don't bring in outside people. We interview people within the community, and we create the jobs in the community. The only person we might bring from an outside sometime is a GM, a general manager, that's got some experience in what we do. But other than that, I mean, our construction trades, we try to hire within the region, you know. We want that. And if we can bring somebody in with us that can do part of it, then that's great. And if not, you know, that's fine too. We've done both ways. But we want to open the door. We want to open the door.
Question that no one's asked, and I'll just go ahead and warn the other group. I'm going to ask the same question to them also. With what, and I'm not looking down to a penny by any stretch. Ballpark, what would this project cost?
Okay.
I mean,
public infrastructure, we're thinking about $15 million. Private investment into the hotel and the amenities around. Now, this is without any apartments or any retail or anything. Probably about another $14 million for the hotel, and that's kind of where we got it at right now, pegged in our mind. Then if you start adding apartments and what have you and everything else, the numbers are obviously going to go up.
Does that include the garage?
Does not include garage. And garage, we didn't include because we just flat don't know, because we haven't done a market study, and we really rely on those market studies for the garages on these projects. We've built a lot of garages that have sat empty in our past. So, and they're expensive. Them lights are on all night long.
Yes, they are. Tell me about it.
And the infrastructure, the 15 million that you were saying, that is what you would want to do, bonds or TIF,
however.
Yeah, it's, you know, whichever group, you know, we'd probably have to look at either TIF bonds. The STAR bonds haven't been used much in Oklahoma. People don't know what they are. The only one that I know of that's been used was Oklahoma City used it with Devon Tower, and the state participated in that because it has some state value. And whether we'd have to convince the state there's some state value in attracting people to the area, and it's a potential. I can't guarantee that, but those are the kind of things we would look at.
Okay, and the STAR bond, you said you were familiar with those because
We've used them.
Have you used them in Oklahoma?
We did not, but I'm very familiar with STAR bond legislation. They were part of the financing for the Tulsa project was Star Bond also. Yep.
Would you be interested in just developing half the block as a hotel convention and letting the other group develop the retail and office?
Yeah, I mean, we'll sit down and talk with them and land plan together. And I mean, we probably feel real strong about the location of the hotel.
Yeah, yeah.
The conference center. And
how you have it lined up right
But
here.
if we got around those, absolutely, absolutely.
Thanks, all I've got.
Any other questions for HCW?
No, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, do we have questions for the other group?
Yes.
Yeah, we're not gonna let Corey off.
Sure.
Is Howard?
Or
Do we get
Howard.
to yell at Howard too?
Yeah, Howard, you want to come on
No.
up? He brings another variety of expertise, so I may defer to him at some point during this.
I'm gonna. So pretty much exact opposite. You don't feel like a convention and hotel is needed downtown.
I think Stillwater needs one, and the studies have shown that it is a market where something like that could be utilized pretty well. I think a scaled down version of it from what was in the RFP would be okay. The problem with scaling it down from what the RFP put out there is the RFP was tailored towards what the study showed this market wanted. And so they kind of seem to be a little bit in mutual combat. I don't disagree with the assessment that we need additional meeting and event space. There's probably, you can name the Wes Watkins Center Meditations, ConocoPhillips Alumni Center, Expo Center Meditations, and you've almost exhausted your places to have a reception or a nice meeting in Stillwater. So this is a pretty fluid project. We invested a lot of resources trying to show what our vision of responding to the RFP was. But we anticipate, much like the other group, that's going to change some. So maybe the city goes back and says, let's do some nice meeting space down there, but not necessarily the full 25,000 square foot free span exhibit hall that was put in the RFP, or things like that. That is probably more doable in a downtown setting, in our opinion, than the full-on project. When we sat down with the architects and we really mapped out, according to Stillwater's codes, for parking and capacity and everything, and started laying that all out, just in that little 2-block area, the remaining sliver for true private development is small. I would say it's 1 to 2/10 of the entire surface area left over.
Just to comment on what the presenter has said, there was a study done about a decade ago, a feasibility study for a convention center, and we started off with this big idea of a convention center, and by the time we were done with the consultant, he had convinced us that a conference center suited our market better than a convention big box space, unless the city or the university was willing to heavily subsidize it to the tune of hundreds of thousands of dollars. So when my takeaway from that study way back when, which I wouldn't think has changed that much, is we went in thinking convention center, and we left with a conference idea as being more viable, but still probably needing some level of support.
And I wouldn't disagree with that assessment at all. One of my primary concerns has been seeing an expectation and seeing what it takes to satisfy our market segment that Stillwater's been identified for in the conference and convention business, and then scaling our product to something different so that we miss the market and we end up with just another underutilized asset sitting down there. Whatever we decide to go forward with needs to be market appropriate, and size and funding capacity is going to dictate those terms and the priority of the council.
Would you be interested in developing half of the block with retail and office space and not being involved in the convention hotel?
I've been developing quarter blocks so far, so half a block is a promotion.
So I can put that as a yes. if you did, if we upgraded you to the half the block, what would you see as the city's investment?
In all honesty, the project is so fluid, it would depend what's remaining. I mean, I think you have to take the city's investment in the totality. There's going to be the green space. That's going to be a community interaction center. That's going to be sponsored by the city. Parking is going to be sponsored by the city. Now, there's a lot of opportunity for the city to recapture those funds, not just on sales tax revenue, but by leaseback provisions with your hotel, with your conference center, with your residential, with your retail. So while the city fronts the cost, there's a lot of ways to capture some revenue off of that. Yeah, I don't disagree with some streetscape and some public improvements. Certainly one of the things that we've put and been consistent in is having the city bring the utilities to the site that are capable of handling everything, both the private development and the public development, because you never know what's underground. To that end, I don't think we covered our timeline, but we wanted to be turning dirt in 6 months and everything out of the ground a year from the date that the shovel goes in. And we think, given everything, with the amount of public input, the amount of city staff and council's input, we think that's a reasonable timeline.
So about 18 months?
Yes.
Is that what you said? Okay. Can you give me your vision between convention versus conference? How many people does it hold? Or just give me a sample of what you think if we weren't convention and we were conference. How many seats?
I like the conference center idea. We've got about, I think it was 32,000 square foot in the community center once you take and redo the downstairs and the upstairs. There's a lot of possibility for breakout sessions and different rooms and different structures within that span. I think our market identifies us for situations that are between 250 and probably 400 people, tops. I don't think we're ever, not ever, because eventually I hope that we will, but currently I don't think that our geographic location and our infrastructure allow us to participate in bidding for things that exceed that 375, 400 person mark. But there is a market for stuff like that, you know. I've had a couple of friends that wanted to host actually the AFL-CIO convention and some other conventions in Stillwater, and I put them in contact with Christie, only to find out it's just right on the north side because they are looking at 300 and 350, and we just don't have that. Mm-hmm. Right. At that time, we didn't have the availability of hotel beds.
Corey, as a development company, you and Howard together, what would you describe as your greatest strengths and your greatest weaknesses?
Well, I'll give you the obvious answer for the weaknesses. That'd be my personality. Beyond that, I think we're spectacular. I just wanted to beat Councilor Nahara to the punch there. No, one of the reasons that Howard and I decided to partner is because we have some pretty divergent talents, but very similar interests. Certainly, Howard's been at it a lot longer than I have, and has done a variety of projects. And his interest in real estate really spans the gamut, whether it's development, it's sales, it's managing. He manages about 3,300 units between here and Oklahoma City. My expertise has been primarily downtown, and it's been downtown focused. We bought a couple of houses early on, but they were really just to leverage up to keep doing what we've done. My interest has always been downtown Stillwater. My office is downtown Stillwater. We've got businesses that we own that are located downtown Stillwater, and then we've helped grow some businesses. So I guess my expertise, I've had probably more interaction with this board because most of the projects that we've tackled have had some component of CETA finance, whether it's been through the sales tax rebate or whether it's been through an incentive loan. I've had more interaction probably than Manager Galloway even likes, in trying to help redevelop downtown Stillwater. I mean, we've been in primarily historic situations, so there's some challenges that come with building in that won't be over there. But we felt like between experience and vision, even though we're natural competitors in some areas, we really believe that that we bring together a great concept for this. Weaknesses, they have a better portfolio. And I think we can all see that the projects and the scope and the magnitude of the things they've done are different. But this is not a huge project. I know that it looks like you might be considering the little guy for a huge project, but every huge project is made up of small components. And when you start slicing up the pie like that, this isn't a huge mountain to get over. Howard's in a multi-million-dollar project in Tulsa right now in conjunction with the city of Tulsa. We've done multi-million-dollar projects down here, so I guess our weakness would be our portfolio, but that's only for a lack of time, and there isn't the opportunity to do a $400 million project in Stillwater. Love to, though. Anybody wants to put it on the agenda, we would like to discuss it.
What's your idea for getting public input?
Got a lot of experience in public input, and I'd like to break it up, honestly.
She means voluntary public input.
Okay. Touche. No, we would kind of segment it up a little bit. And I think the downtown business owners need to have kind of their own special form about, because this isn't just a two-block project. You're taking downtown Stillwater from a pencil and really widening it. And you're planning for growth that's not going to happen in 18 months. You're planning for growth that's going to happen over the next 2 decades if we do it right. And so certainly downtown property owners and downtown business owners need to have their own public input hearing. And then because of what we're doing and the fact that it's owned by the city of Stillwater and the citizens of Stillwater, then you've got to schedule a lot of public hearings. And I don't mind doing that. And I don't think Howard minds either in taking people's input. And you can attract a lot more with honey than vinegar. And that's one of the reasons I feel strongly about maintaining a public use component of the community center, because if I thought you were going to get pushback in any given area on this project, it would be trying to privatize that existing structure.
Doesn't appear like we have any other questions, so thank you very much.
Thanks again. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I heard one thing after the answer. I think that there's some confusion, if you don't mind.
Yes, please.
On the difference between conference center and convention center, and there are two distinct differences, and there's no doubt. What we've done is created that really works well is a hybrid, and I'm going to refer to Manhattan again because it's the newest one, but inside of the conference space, we put a door in large enough with a heated dock to where we can actually, up there, it's an ag area, where we can bring in equipment, heavy equipment, and then we thickened the floor and we put in boxes every 30 by 30. So we got a 30 by 30 grid of water, data, and power in each box. So then that way we can handle the home and garden shows like a convention center inside the space. We put down plastic, and we've brought in tractors in the middle of that place because the door is big enough on it. So we actually have utilized it for a conference and convention on there, so we can make it kind of a hybrid, get the best of both worlds because it's a small market also.
Thank you. Okay. Counselors, trustees, got a lot of information. Again, public, we need input.
Their email address is on the website, stillwater.org, or you can look up their phone numbers and give them a call.
And so
We need it this week, too.
And
we need it this week.
We would like to, as a group, be able to be making some decisions so that, in that decision, as I understand it, what we're looking for is really a direction to go. We're not at any way, shape, or form ready to sign a contract with somebody. It's very much, who do we want to start talking to about trying to head down that road? That's the stage we're at. I want to make sure that everyone understands that the decision we need to make is, who do we focus our attention on working with so we can lead down that path. So out of fairness to not only us, but fairness to the community and fairness to the presenters tonight, we need to kind of get that decision going. So please get us input this week if possible. And are we scheduled to meet next Monday?
Next Monday, yes. It'll be a CETA meeting, primarily executive session, to go and discuss economic development transaction.
Okay, so that's 7 days, folks. And like most things, if they don't remember to do it tomorrow, they won't remember to do it. But anyway, please contact us and work through it. All right, counselors, anything on that note?
I want to thank everyone for coming. There's a lot of people here. I don't know if the crowd's been shown on the screen, but there's a lot of people that took time off on their Monday to come out and listen, and I really appreciate that. And I want to extremely say, please give me some information. It's pretty evident that I'm young, and there's a lot of people in this room that have been in Stillwater a lot longer, and I want what's best for Stillwater. And so I really welcome and appreciate your input to make Stillwater the best it can be with whatever way we move forward. So please don't hesitate to reach out to us. Please reach out to us. Thank you.
You can reach out to the people who aren't so young, too.
Okay, nothing else on the CETA agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn CETA?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
That is approved, 5-0. CETA is adjourned. Before we call SUA to order, or do I need to call it to order and then take a 5-minute recess?
You could just wait and call it to order.
I'll call it to order after 5 minutes I'm sure some of the crowd wants to stick around for SUA, but I'm going to give you guys some time to.
Shouldn't take more than 30 minutes.
Was homeless and flat broke when he got his first gusher, and that was in 1912, and it's still pumping today. Yeah. Well, that was his first gusher, but he went out, leased a bunch of land back then, and his doctor told him, "You're going to die young if you don't take a break from all this wildcat." Now, you know what wildcat is. Where you drill for oil with no assurance that you're going to hit anything. You're just taking a shot in the dark. They call that wildcat. And he was the king of the wildcatters, and he still is. No one can meet his record. He opened up more oil fields in Oklahoma, Texas, Louisiana, everywhere. He could just look at the ground and oil would come out. It's a wonderful story. I'll tell you a little bit about it. He was literally born in the oil field. His dad, the first oil field in the world was, first oil well, commercial oil well, was Titusville, Pennsylvania. And his dad worked in there and took him out there and showed him how to smell for oil in the sand. It's a great story, great story. But it has a little twist and curse to it. But I won't tell you that. Another time, I'd come back and do a little Tom Slick. But
is there a biography on him?
Oh yeah, yeah. There's only really one good one. It's somebody out of Louisiana wrote it. He didn't do any interviews, or he was on the run too much, too busy. But that well that came in on St. Patrick's Day, 1912. About 6 months later, he decided he'd take his doctor's advice and go to the Orient. That's what they called Asia back then. Cost $2,000. Now, annual working man's salary was $500 a year then, okay? So $2,000. Of course, by that time, he was already working on his first million pretty quickly. When he came back, he was there for 2 years. When he came back, he had 2,000 wells with his name on it in the Drumride area. And that was only the beginning. It's a fascinating story. But we're here to talk about U.S. Marshals. And there's a lot of fascinating stories there. And probably the most fascinating is Bass Reeves. He even arrested his own son one time And that takes a man of honor to go out and arrest his own son for murder. Now, he was acquitted, but he brought him in. In fact, Bass Reeves invented the prison wagon. Because before that, you could, you just had to lead a few back on horses. You're pretty well limited how many you could bring in. Well, he figured if he could rig up a wagon with some bars on it, he could bring in 10 or 12 at a time. Now, they were paid by the head, you see. They got expenses, and they were paid more if they were alive. See, this is where the movie True Grit and Rooster Cogburn kind of conflict a little bit. There were some cases where they wouldn't pay you anything if you brought them in dead. It just depended. Each case was different. How much award or bounty they would give the U.S. Marshals. But they always got their expenses. And that's why he was keeping his records. And that's a cute story, too, which they barely touch on in the movies, about Matty helping Rooster Cogburn with his expenses. Because he couldn't write too well, and he, probably barely could add. But so he came up with creative ways to pad his little expense cap. Any other questions?
Just a point of trivia that you haven't mentioned, but we were talking about Bass Reeves.
Yeah.
This is Afro-American.
Oh, yes. And I heard this story. He escaped from his master in Texas and took refuge in the Indian nations. Now, the Civil War broke out, so it was a pretty good time to be a runaway slave in the Indian nations because everybody was busy with the war. Of course, we had our own Civil War here, too. Each of the tribes had almost equal numbers fighting on both sides. And that's a tragic story also. Well, he traveled tribe to tribe, and he wound up learning Comanche and several of the other Indian nation languages. Well, he was wanted, they tell the story in Fort Smith courtroom. He was wanted for something, and they had him up Judge Parker courtroom, and the jury was just about to deliver their sentence when the court said, we're going to take a short recess. Everybody clear the room. Just leave me with the defendant. Now, it was apparent that he was going to be convicted. I don't know what the crime was. But during the testimony, Judge Parker heard that he had had all this experience traveling in Indian nations, and he knew multiple Indian languages. And he thought, I'll give you a choice. I can deputize you a U.S. Marshal, or let the jury come in and pass their sentence. What will it be? Well, he took the job, U.S. Deputy Marshal. When the court came back in, or the jury came back in, he said, case.
Let me see, she's in the hallway.
Yeah. So yes, you're American. And, he nearly got killed. They got the drop on him, and they were going to kill him, and he acted like a poor, ignorant, colored boy, ex-slave, and just begging for mercy. And they were having a little fun with him. These are people, outlaws that he was out to arrest, but they got the drop on him. He said, well, please just let me say my prayers before you kill me. And they said, all right. I said, I'd like to read something from my Bible. And of course, he reaches in and gets his Bible and pulls out a gun and takes them both prisoner.
Does someone want to yell at Patch? She's coming.
You can yell at her. I don't yell at council people.
That's fair. All right, or trustees. All right, we are going to call to order the March 23rd, 2015 Stillwater Utility Authority meeting. First item is the consent docket, items A through E. Does anyone wish to remove items A through E?
Motion to approve?
Second.
Motion second to approve consent docket. That's approved 5-0. Take us down to general orders. First one, status report on power generation station, bids and budget. Mr. Smith.
Good evening, trustees. Lauren Smith, Generation and Transmission Division Manager. First of all, I'd just like to thank each of you for your time and commitment to this project. It's very important, and we've put a lot of work into it. So we're extremely happy to be here to give you an update tonight. Just a couple facts I'd just like to go over real quick. Stillwater is the second largest municipally owned electric utility in the state of Oklahoma and the largest municipal electric generator in the state. Stillwater has owned its electric utility since 1901 and began generating a generation of its own electricity in 1903. Boomer Lake Station was built in the 1950s and was renovated in the 1990s as part of a 20-year life extension project. That's basically, I met with Dan about 3 years ago to discuss where we were at with our generation plant and the fact that it had reached its end of life. And so we had some very big decisions to make, and we had some concepts that we had been thinking about, and we basically had to start finding a path forward with those. That led us to a generation feasibility resource study where we did a study to determine whether or not it was economically feasible to continue with generation in Stillwater. We looked at three options: rebuild Boomer Lake Station, build a new state-of-the-art generation facility, or get out of the generation business altogether. In January of 2013, the study came back that it would be beneficial and economically viable for Stillwater Utilities Authority to own new generation. At that time, we met with Grand River Dam Authority to see if they were interested in partnering with us for this facility. It turns out that they were, and we spent about 6 months working through the contract with them and customizing the capacity payment agreement with GRDA to benefit Stillwater. On August 5th of 2013, trustees approved the wholesale purchase power contract. The meeting after that, you approved us to enter into a formal professional services agreement with Burns & McDonnell, complete the land exchange with the commissioners of the land office, and work with J.P. Morgan on the bond underwriting for the project. The final approval was received for the power generation station on June 2nd of 2014. The project includes 3 25,000 horsepower natural gas-fired reciprocating engine generators with 56 megawatts of output, a control room and an administration building, as well as maintenance facilities and a new electrical transmission and distribution substation. So it's quite a large and complex project. In your packets, I provided you with a general site layout of the new facility. You'll notice here where it says power block building are the 3 25,000 horsepower engines that I spoke about, the control room with complete administration offices and maintenance facilities, as well as the electrical substation. In the design phase of the project, we wanted to include some preliminary designs for future expansion should that ever occur. And that way you're just planning for it and you're not cutting yourself short for the future. The total project cost is estimated at just under $70 million. The total project will have 34 procurement packages or bids, and that will include the equipment, materials, construction, and services necessary to construct the facility. To date, 17 of the 34 bids have been released. The trustees have approved bid recommendations on 9 of them. Others are still out for bid or in the evaluation process. To date, we have or are in the process of finalizing equipment and services contracts that total approximately $38.5 million. We are estimating that for the equipment and services currently under contract that we are approximately $4.4 million under budget. And I mentioned in the past that we were just getting very favorable bids, and it's really, really paying off for us. So we're super excited about that. We have just this Wednesday, we're going to be opening 6 bids in one day, which is unheard of. So, also in your packets, I included a timeline because I want to give you an idea of what this is a level 1 timeline schedule. There's about 5 or 6 others that go right down to the nuts and bolts of day to day. So this is a level 1 schedule. It's about a 20,000-foot view. You'll notice that every green line represents a procurement package or a construction service. And that's all plotted out on the timeline, as well as I had them go ahead and highlight the packages that we've already have approval on and that the equipment's been ordered in red. Any red lines that you see are critical path items. That mean, those have to be done on those dates or we will not meet our goal. Our goal is to be completed commercially operational on June 30th, 2016. We're going to start construction in July 2015, which is, I used to say that 2 or 3 years ago, and it seemed like it was so far out. But literally in July, we're starting construction. There are really 3 things that are out of our control that could affect this commercial operation date. One of the primary things is the ODEQ air permit. We're working through that process now. Everything's going fine. We're not seeing any big delays, but that is a contributing factor. The weather's going to affect everything. That will be something that we absolutely can't control. And then the third thing is the Oklahoma natural gas pipeline to the plant. That they haven't committed that they can guarantee they will be there on that date. However, they have assured us that this is their number 1 project and that they will be moving forward. So, upon approval. Just an idea of how busy we are and what we're doing. Just in February, these 31 engineering packages were being designed. And so it's a long list, but it just goes to show that there's teams of people, whether external or internal to the city, that are just pouring over this thing, making it right. So there's 8 projects that we call parallel projects or off-site projects and permitting that's going on. We've got the water line project, the natural gas line project, ODEQ Title V permit, Southwest Power Pool registration, 69,000 volt transmission system improvements, fiber optic communications to the new power generation station, GRDA communications to the new power generation station, as well as the City of Stillwater use by right permit application, which is very detailed, we're finding out. So it's good. That should be this week when we get that out. So we won't go through this whole thing, but basically from 3 years ago to conception to rising out of the earth, this 3D model, we've been able to walk through every inch of this plant. This is just a movie view, but we've actually walked through every facet of the plant, and it's helping us design where to lay out things and orient pipes, and it's just so neat. This is the administration building and maintenance facility you saw. You can actually see into the earth. This is underground utilities coming into to connect the PGS, to the engine hall to the control room. This really gives you some good perspective as to what we're looking at here. These are the radiators that will cool the engines. It's kind of neat to see perspective because these little gray boxes right here that are the selective catalyst reduction for emissions, these are as large as a school bus. So you really don't get to see the perspective of how big this thing is and how big these things are. So, I'll fast forward a little bit here if I can. But this is coming back on the other side. These are the transformers you guys have already awarded the bids on, and we kind of take a view of the administration area again and control room, and just a very neat tool. So, all projects are expected to be completed by the commercial operation date of June 30th, 2016. That's our target date. At this time, the project, the PGS project and parallel projects are on schedule and under budget. There's just lots of variables between here and there to get to.
Pretty good.
Nice presentation.
Thank you.
A lot of
Thank you.
That was the shortened version.
Yes.
That was probably 20 minutes, but.
Thanks. I think I requested that, so I really appreciate that.
Okay.
I'm excited. It's exciting. I'd like to have an update in 6 months or something again. I think
Absolutely.
there's a lot of stuff from looking at that are going to happen in the next couple months, and so maybe back in 6 months or so to see what's going on.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for all your hard work, everyone.
And it's not just me, there's a whole
Yeah.
team of city employees behind us that are making this all happen.
Thank you for being under budget, 4.4 million.
We're getting very lucky, and so
Yeah.
that's good for us, and that's good for the city.
It's a great job by everybody involved. Good job, team.
Go team.
Thank you.
Aren't you going to take his picture?
Yeah, he doesn't want that. All right, next under general orders, we have the power station gas transportation agreement with One Gas, and I guess you're starting, I know you've been involved, Mr. Dorman.
I think Mr.
Yeah, thank you. Actually, John has been heavily involved, and he's one of those key players that has helped out tremendously with bids and these contracts that they're mind-numbing, to be honest with you. I mean, they're very, very, very complicated. Dan and I and John have spent a lot of time turning over all the rocks. I mean, it's definitely a team effort. Tonight, I'm here to request approval of the natural gas transportation agreement with Oklahoma Natural Gas. The new PGS will require natural gas to operate. There are three pieces to the natural gas supply to the plant. One is the commodity. The second is a connection to the transmission system. And the third is the lateral line, or the line that will come down from the transmission pipe to the plant. Tonight, we're just going to talk about the line that comes down from the transmission line. It's called the lateral. The location of the PGS was chosen partially because of its location to a high-pressure pipeline on the north side of town. Basically, due north of the site is the high-pressure gas line that we need, and it's owned and operated by Enable. In August, we released RFPs to elicit interest in building a natural gas line from the transmission line to the PGS. The RFPs identified two components of the new pipeline, which are the connection to the high-pressure gas transmission line and the construction of the new pipeline to the site. In October, staff received 4 responses to the RFP. Enable Midstream, ONG, Southern Star, and Utility Safety Designs Incorporated submitted proposals. Enable, Midstream, Southern Star, and Utility Safety Designs all provided good quotes. Just after all of the conversations and negotiating that we did, we found that ONG was the lowest and responsible provider of the quote. We had USDI provide us a quote of what it would cost to build the pipeline if we were to build it. And that quote came in for about $4.5 million. And so we had a baseline to go against whenever we were asking these other companies what it would cost for them to build the line to us. In the end, ONG was actually a little lower than the cost to build it ourselves. And so we knew that we had a valid quote. The others were considerably higher, just out of the ballpark, too high. The term of the ONG contract that they proposed is the term of the GRDA contract. So we're looking at April 1st of 2016 and ending at May 31st of 2042, which is the term of the GRDA contract. We wanted it to coincide together primarily because there's mechanisms in the capacity payment to pay for the transmission service to the plant. So we didn't want anything to overreach that agreement. In order for the new PGS to meet the targeted commercial operation date of 6/30/2016, it is critical that that ONG have gas service to the site by April 1st of 2016. In order to complete that task, they need to begin work immediately. They've actually started doing some preliminary right-of-way work and stuff that they can do before really committing until they have a contract. While nothing in the contract holds them accountable to meet that deadline, they have assured the SUA that this project is their #1 priority. All of our other contracts that we sign with everybody have very heavy liquidated damages should they fail to meet their deadlines to recoup to recover our cost. All the other gas providers, they would not commit to the date either. There's just too many variables for them. They feel like they can do it, and since the beginning of the project, they've said they felt like they could do it. It's just once we get here to the end, they're saying there's lots of variables. We're going to be doing everything we can to get there. Several factors could affect their timeline: right-of-way acquisition, material acquisition, and bad weather. The project team will be working closely with ONG to ensure a timely completion of the lateral pipeline. Burns and McDonnell we've been in contact with ONG, and they are working. I mean, they have basically said, we want to see your time schedules week to week. We want updates week to week. We're going to be pushing from our end and supporting you any way we can with our expertise to help get you there. So with that, it is recommended that the trustees approve the natural gas transportation agreement with ONG for the new PGS, subject to satisfactory negotiations of the terms and conditions and final legal review, and authorize staff to execute this agreement.
Any questions for Mr. Smith?
Thank you.
Very thorough job. Appreciate that.
Thank you. All right, so we have a recommendation as stated in the report. Are there any questions, or is there a motion on the staff recommendation?
Motion to approve.
Second.
Motion and a second to approve staff's recommendation. That is approved 5-0. Thank you. Next item on our agenda for SUA is a resolution, and it's resolution number SUA 2015-3, approving participation in the Municipal Electric Systems of Oklahoma Mutual Aid Agreement. Any extra information that we need on this?
Just add a couple words. We currently have a agreement through MISO for mutual aid. Enables us to, when there is a situation here in Stillwater, to call for help from other municipal power entities throughout the state, and also for us to go out and help others. Most recently, I think it was August the 8th of 2011, maybe. I'd have to.
It was 11.
2011, thank you. We had some straight line winds that came through town and knocked out, because of the trees, knocked out a lot of customers. We were able to call for mutual aid. I actually placed the call at 4 a.m. We had 3 crews in Stillwater by noon, enabled us to work around the clock 24/7 and get everybody back online with power within a period of 3 days. So it basically is an agreement that sets forth all of the terms in advance, so that you just have to make a phone call and everything's worked out in advance. So it's been very beneficial for us and all the public power communities in the state. So I'd highly recommend that you authorize the staff to enter in this agreement and pass the resolution as proposed. Thank you.
Second.
Excellent opportunity.
All right, we have a motion and a second to adopt resolution SUA 2015-3. That is approved 5-0. Nothing further on the SUA agenda. Is there a motion to adjourn SUA?
Motion to adjourn.
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn SUA. That's how I interpreted that. And that's approved 5-0. We are adjourned.